to the Common Sense Crypto channel, everyone. This is Rich making another video on XRP today, as usual. So wherever you are in this vast planet, I hope you are having a nice day today. Before we discuss XRP, I must address this first. No, it couldn't, Dazzlin X responds. The ledger isn't even close to handling this many transactions per second. According to the CEO of Ripple, XRP may account for 14% of Swift's global volume. Some individuals think that Swift's daily volume of transactions is too much for XRP and Ripple to handle. According to Smoke, Ripple is capable of supporting the TPS needed to match Swift volume. In a short time, Ripple will take over the payment market. The Ripple network can process up to 1,500 transactions per second, while Swift can only process up to 1,000, without Interledger, that is. The Swift network and Ripple's Interledger protocol are quite similar. Therefore, Interledger protocol was designed to replace Swift from the beginning, more closely resembles Swift in that when a payment message is successfully processed, nodes and intermediaries are contractually obligated to pay, but money is moved separately to fulfill the commitments. Additionally, 1 trillion transactions per second are made possible by Interledger protocol. When it comes to micropayments, where individuals are paid in real time on a daily basis, Interledger protocol will be required. However, individuals are unable to accept the fact that Swift was already replaced by the XRP ledger and that Ripple was already developed. People will get it until really occurs. You know, Ryan Rugg is still Citibank's head of digital assets. You can see how Ripple was already on course to replace the entire financial system. When you look at this, Pega Sultani is available at Citibank, Keone, Batia, Swift, Ryan Rugg, and Ripple. Additionally, Peg discusses how institutional ADOP is a universal exchange norm. This will promote flexibility and competition and rich data. At Ripple, ISO 2022 has long recognized that this is the standard, and it will be better for those who are truly pioneers in joining the standard to help shape the future of payments. People continue to believe that Swift will eventually be replaced by Ripple. However, Swift representatives are already seated on a board at Ripple. They have individuals who can find employment any place in the world. They made the decision to come work at Ripple. Why? So they are aware that Ripple is determined to supplant the financial system. You see Rosie, Realstar, for that reason. These Swift employees are visible on the board. When it comes to cross-border payments, you can see Ripple getting a place at every table. And others are still unable to accept that it will finally occur. Listen to Giancarlo's discussion regarding the conclusion of the cryptocurrency casino era. Listen to it, and that is the understanding that Bitcoin may be entering a new stage of maturity and widespread adoption, marking the end of its early juvenile era, what some mockingly refer to as the casino phase. The reason for this is that traditional financial companies have been excluded from the market due to laws implemented by the Biden administration. The debanking of traditional firms and the SEC's warnings to lawyers and others not to get involved in crypto have caused them to be cautioned to remain out of the market. Now we've seen that. The FDIC has actually warned banks to stay out through FOIA requests that have been forwarded. All of that will be eliminated. Trump will permit conventional finance to enter the market for digital assets. And I believe that this asset place's institutional growth is about to begin. It will be significantly impacted by major American financial institutions such as the New York Stock Exchange and its owner ICE, NASDAQ, and others, as well as by major Wall Street firms. In my opinion, this will lead to a true maturation of digital assets and the value proposition will rise significantly. And I believe that's what early investors are witnessing. Additionally, cryptocurrencies like XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, and others will profit from the institutional phase. Bitcoin will eventually lose its relevance. You know, running on all these additional networks will be a benefit. With F Assets, Flare is already trying to accomplish that. They aim to add some usefulness to Bitcoin and have off BTC. Charles Hoskinson hopes to use Bitcoin in a similar manner. BlackRock may even be only trying to tokenize those Bitcoin ETFs, in my opinion. However, that is the current cause of Bitcoin. However, no one wants to discuss it. However, if institutional usage spreads, they will be forced to discuss these genuinely useful cryptocurrencies. The parabolic growth phase is beginning to be experienced by real world assets. This isn't anything in comparison to the direction that tokenization is taking. This is a drop in the bucket. Until regulations are established, tokenization is unlikely to gain any traction. Furthermore, a lot of tokenization is not even taking place in the US. Because there are still no restrictions in the United States, it is taking place outside of the country. The plumbing is called Ripple, the faucet is a Monorex. Listen to this out. Could you describe how the XRP community has influenced you? Perhaps it was influenced by this project. Well, the principles of the XRP ledger form the foundation of everything we do. All the money, level the playing field, and do away with walled gardens. Thus, Ripple is constructing the plumbing in Mexico. Ripple is already connected to the SPAY network, which is the country's interbank digital network. Thus, the plumbing is theirs. Our goal is to be the conduit through which retail consumers can take use of the XRP ledger's benefits. Fantastic. Thus, it's already constructed. He simply stated that it is already constructed in Mexico, and that, as Ripple has been constructed in numerous other nations worldwide, the flow of XRP through those pipelines is about to begin. Only a matter of time will pass. Cross-border payments are highlighted by Crypto Airy. According to her extremely conservative estimate, $4 trillion, $200 billion, 0 cents a year would require 11.15 million XRP at $2.15. The amount she is referring to is roughly 90% of the circulating supply, which is 58.82 billion. And once more, the main question is whether XRP could handle 14% of Swift's volume and process $4 trillion, $200 billion, 0 cents annually. This will now increase XRP's value. If Ripple were to grab 10% of Swift's volume, we would be looking at a 3-digit XRP, as I always said. But this is where the true value will be found. I believe that a number of businesses intend to include XRP in their treasury. Large worlds are discreetly acquiring millions because they anticipate a significant event. There will inevitably be a supply shock. There is not much time left. Don't wait until it's too late to read the headlines. The fact that these businesses have already begun to establish XRP treasuries, this confirms the existence of liquidity pools. And because of XRP's real utility and use case, these businesses will use it every day. Additionally, many still do not believe that XRP will become scarce. Since these businesses are now introducing their own stablecoin, every single one of them will be doing this. Thus, their stablecoin was introduced. However, they still require a bridge. How can one obtain a bridge? Via XRP. However, how can you ensure that your business will have liquidity when it's needed? You create a pool of liquidity. Perhaps it lies between a few businesses. Perhaps it lies between a few banks. It makes no difference. These pools of liquidity will exist. The first indications of it are already apparent, will result in supply and demand. One might spend all day concentrating on market capitalization. Demand and supply will ultimately determine XRP's price. Now, there are over 500,000 more home sellers than buyers. The biggest difference ever know it. The price of homes is set to plummet. We are about to enter the old season, as I have been telling you. XRP is going to have a spectacular run. I predict that this housing market fall will start very soon. So if you're going to buy your first home, you will be buying at the bottom. Additionally, it will fall during the old season. In order to purchase a home in the near future, you might just need to sell a small portion of your XRP. However, you should buy the bottom for everything because you will undoubtedly do so. Wait till automobile costs drop if you plan to purchase one. Purchase the bottom. The same thing. You approach everything in life in the same manner that you approach cryptocurrency. You sell the top and buy the bottom. BlackRock secures a $500 million contract to reconstruct Ukraine. Is anyone surprised by that? Because I am not at all surprised by this. JP Morgan and BlackRock have been active in Ukraine for a while, and you were aware that this would occur. Ukraine serves as a test site for digital currency issued by central banks in a cashless society. They are testing and experimenting with what they wish to adopt in all these other nations, including the US, Europe, and the UK. In Ukraine, and you are aware that BlackRock would play a significant part in this. I'm not shocked at all. However,